born in San Diego, California. My mom was originally from New Jersey. My dad's originally from Chicago. And my dad was working for the Navy, so he was stationed out there. I was born. My parents were always kind of splitting up back and forth. I moved back and forth from Jersey to California a lot. Eventually, my family moved back to Jersey. My mom opened up a bar. I lived in Avondale, New Jersey, so basically my coming of age years, from the age of 10 to 20, I lived there. My first sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you'd say, I guess, were done in Avondale, New Jersey. When I was 10, 11 years old, I used to be really into roller skating. So I used to roller skate all the time. There was a good friend of mine who didn't roller skate, so I convinced him to come roller skating with me. We went, he broke his arm, like a compound fracture. My friend, Sleepy, they called him, but broke his arm in half. See him go to the hospital, of course, and he had to stay a couple days to get his arm fixed up. And when he got out, I guess he had left his clothes and his things in his room, and he's like, well, this guy was my roommate in the hospital. I left my stuff. He took it home for me. Really cool guy. Come over and, come with me, to pick up my stuff from this guy's house, whatever. So we get there, we knock on the door, and I could hear the song Crazy Train from Ozzy Osbourne, from behind the door, but it wasn't like it was on the radio. It was like unlike I'd ever heard it before. So the guy opens the door. He's got this Les Paul he's holding, and he's playing. He'd been inside playing Crazy Train on the guitar, so just him by himself. And I was just like, "Oh my goodness, you've got to teach me." And he charged me $7 a lesson. And for my first lesson, this guy was like 20-something years old. I was like 12. This guy got me high. He smoked the joint with me. First lesson, smoked the joint with me, but I was just hooked. Like I started playing right away, and I had this old amp. Like my parents had owned a bar. A musician owed my father money or something like that, and gave him a couple guitars and an old beat-up Sears and Roebuck amplifier. And so I had one of these guitars and this amp, and I was playing it every morning before school, and I would make a bunch of racket. And like after my first guitar lesson, I thought for sure I figured out how to play the Jimi Hendrix version, the Star Spangled Banner, like solid. So I was practicing it one morning before school. And my dad worked at the bar downstairs, and so he didn't care to hear that. He was up till God knows what time of the night, so he didn't care to hear that guitar making a bunch of racket at 7:30 in the morning. So he came out, yanked my stuff out, my cables and all out, and basically didn't really pay for me too many guitar lessons after that. Like he wasn't really wasn't a big fan. I mean, he's tried to be supportive about it, but he had his own things going on, and it was. But I was already hooked, and I played this piece of junk guitar for 2 years. This thing couldn't even hold tune. Like it was a piece of junk, but I was determined. And then I got a Les Paul copy for $40, and that was like my first real guitar. And I've always played when I was young, but it was more like I never really learned how to play for real. Like I was always kind of noodling around. Like I used to tell my parents I want to grow up, be a rock star and this and that, but I never really took any steps to actually make that happen. Like my mom passed away when I was young, and my father kind of had his own issues or whatever, so I was kind of doing my own thing from about the age of 11 or whatever up through not finishing high school, and eventually I got strung out on all kinds of drugs and stuff, and I was eventually a drug addict on the street by the time I was 20. The whole music thing didn't really achieve much as a musician, so I never really have a lot of motivation to keep chasing after that. And so eventually, I joined the Navy, whatever, to get away from doing the drugs, whatever. I got stationed here in Charleston, and I've been here ever since.
Looking back on where I'm from, the things I've done, what I've become, I'm still not sure, it's not all clear. I can't believe I'm even here, survived so many misses, all the good life I've seen glimpses. Family life, the American dream, gone up in smoke or down the drain, or should I say gone down the hatch. Bottom of a bottle comes too fast, trying to stay with the game, going too slow in the fast lane, having a good time, oh I feel sad.
I got stationed here in Charleston. I joined the Navy, whatever, to get away from doing the drugs, whatever. I got stationed here in Charleston, and met some good people that played and sang, and we sit around my friend Dana and Trina's house up in North Charleston and just drink beer and play acoustic guitars and sing songs. And like my friends convinced me to join what was called the Charleston Acoustic Playoffs back in the day, and I signed up for that. And I took 3rd place and realized I was gonna, right then and there, I quit the Navy, and didn't really quit, just requested to get out early, and I did, and I've been playing music ever since. I met Edwin McCain the first night I played, and he was really nice, and like, had a lot of advice. He was already pretty successful in like that first acoustic playoffs. I got 3rd place in the solo competition. He actually had 3rd place in the group competition. But also, I met someone who even more importantly got me really involved in the local music scene was a guy named Hawk Morphy. Anybody who played music here in the 90s, probably Hawk got him their first gig. That's just the way he passed away a while back, but you know, the early 2000s. But he was a good friend, good guy. Like pretty much got, like I said, anybody, whatever band he played with Big Stoner Creek and a few different bands. And like he'd have a gig, and there'd always be some random musician show up, and the band would be like, "Who are you?" Like they just like, "Oh, Hawk called me to come out," and they'd be like, "Oh, all right." Like Hawk would just invite people to come out and play, and you know, he was just, you know, I remember my first gig was with Hawk and Hawk Morphy, Jesse Pritchard, and a guy named Chris Urbaland playing drums, and like we played at the place called the Chef and Clef. And now I can't remember what you call Mitchell's now or something on the Market. But up on the third floor, we played this gig, and you know, we made like $40. I never imagined I could play music for a living, and like everybody around here was just so encouraging. Like, you know, you can do this. Like everybody, we're all doing this. Like I met all these musicians around Charleston. Like this is all we do. We don't have jobs. We play. You know, we play our instruments and we have fun. My first band, when I first got out of the Navy, was called Western Hemisphere. And that was a couple guys, my best friend who I grew up with in New Jersey, he played bass, and another guy from Jersey as well. And they moved down here, and we tried it for a little while, and it was fun. We ended up living 5 of us in the house. There was like me, the bass player, the drummer, and both their girlfriends. And if they had reality TV back then, it would have been a hit reality TV show. It was a mess. I mean, they were all good people and stuff, and but we just 5 people living in one house, and it was, you know, we were all young, and you know, it was a mess. And that, needless to say, that didn't last very long. They eventually went back to Jersey, and I started doing my own thing. So then I was, you know, I basically started the Kevin West Band, and I mean, the reason I am to this day even like the Kevin West Band is not that I'm an egomaniac or something. I'm just the only consistent member. Like I tried putting bands together afterwards, but you can never find like musicians that'll stay. So like you come up with a band name, then, you know, a month later the band breaks up and I'm still writing my songs, still trying to do my own thing. I'm like, I can't afford to trying to put a new band. Like so, you know, I started calling myself the Kevin West Band, I guess, and using different musicians.
Let me show you a time of despair. Life seemed to have no goal.
I did that, you know, for a while, and it kind of got almost stale to me, I guess. For some, like I was uninspired. I wasn't really writing so much, and my little brother moved down here. My little brother's a rapper, so we formed this band called the El Mob, and it was a lot of fun. We did a lot of hip hop covers, and it was basically a hip hop cover band. And we eventually started writing stuff, and we actually recorded a full length album, which no one's ever really heard. But that band also was the thing. It was too many egos, and like it fell apart, and so like it was. That's basically the reason my brother OC ended up doing Ace and OC was because El Mob fell apart. At the same time, I was also playing in so I guess you'd call it a hippie jam band. It was a group called Sirius. My friend Barbara Saxton sang my last album. She sang. A guy named Rusty Cole, who plays with Soul Driven Train now. He was playing bass and guitar, and this cat named Chaz, and let's get cat named Daniel playing keyboards, and Alan Brizendine, who plays a lot of local musicians, really good, played drums with us as well. And that band was a fun experience because it was 6 people in the band, and everyone did their own covers. Like Chaz was all into like Ween and a bunch of really hippie kind of stuff, and you know, Rusty too was in like that bluegrassy kind of hippie stuff, and me and Barbara were all into the more R&B and, you know, soulful type stuff. So the band, we covered a pretty wide variety of stuff, and that was a lot of fun. It was a good experience. Like both of those bands, like El Mob I played bass in, which was a change for me as well. And then, you know, at Sirius I was the guitar player, but you know, playing those different styles of music and me not being the front person was a great experience. You know, it was you know, a growing experience as well. And at the same time, also, I was playing with an instrumental group. Where, you know, I couldn't really say jazz fusion because we weren't really that good at musicians to call it that, but we were playing some instrumental takes on jazz standards, and we called the group High Standards because we get high and play jazz standards. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't really good jazz players. We had a lot of fun doing it though, and that was also a nice growing experience. The bass player Brian Buchanan and Alan Brisendine actually also played bass with that project as well. And then you know, after El Mob broke up and Sirius split up, I played bass with my little brother's band Ace and OC for a little while, and that was a lot of fun and also a growing experience because they played original music. A short stint with a group called The Secrets, and they're a local R&B band, and they play cover songs, but they play just some great cover stuff. I really, really enjoyed playing with them. They were just really good guys, played some really good music. And I've also played a lot with the Lewis Dixon Project, Louis D. He's a local saxophone player, and he plays, you know, a lot of cover stuff, but it's a lot of real soulful, you know, Motown and R&B type stuff. It's a lot of fun to play. That's how I met Carl and Jesse, the guys who played bass and drums on my album, this particular project. And Lewis always has really good musicians coming through, and so when you play with these guys, it always kind of pushes you to up your game and try and get to be, you know, a better musician. Try and, you know, like these guys, you don't want to show up the same week with the same riff every week. You want to try and go with something new because you know they're gonna have something new and they're good. I saw an interview once with Sting when I was a little kid, and he's like, ever since, he said his whole life, before the police even, his whole goal as a musician was always to make sure he was the worst musician in the band. You know, because if you know who the weakest link is and you know it's you, then if you know you're good, then you're good to go. Like you don't want to be in a band with some guy like, the guy's not holding up his end. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, you want to be the guy that's not holding up his end in your mind, but apparently you must be if the band is willing to play with you. You can't be that bad, I guess. But you know, like these, you know, Carl and Jesse appreciate where I'm coming from artistically and whatnot, and I think that that's the, you know, I think where I lack in musicianship, I try and make up for it in being creative and original and artistic, if that makes any kind of sense.
It's a song about the people like us, the sinners, the place where we go when we die, because some people might say we're not getting into heaven because we don't live right. Tupac called it Thug's Mansion. Place I spend my quiet nights, time to unwind, so much pressure in this life of mine. I cried times I was contemplating suicide.
Tupac Shakur is probably one of the most biggest influences in my life as an artist and as a human being. Like, as you know, his songs, his music to me is amazing, but the things he did in his real life, I mean, other than all that gangster shit, I realized was crazy. But he was out there doing a lot of good things and trying to do a lot of good. Like he was much smarter and much he had a lot more going on than people tend to think, because he was portrayed as such a not a really good person. And another big influence, I would say, is Bruce Lee, actually, of all people. Like, I don't really do kung fu or anything like that, but as an artist and a filmmaker, and like the things he did as a philosopher, like his philosophy applies to everything in life. I mean, it's very interchangeable. Like, it's not, it's very rare you hear him actually talking about fighting. Most of Bruce Lee's philosophy is about life, and I mean, the fight, if he does talk about fighting, tends to be a metaphor. Where he's not actually talking about hurting people. That was probably 5% of what he was as a person, but he was more just an artist. And to me, I'm inspired by artists, by people who are, who express themselves honestly, and, aren't trying to be something that they know will sell or whatever, like John Lennon is another, like, just, I mean, how much of an artist can you be? Puts himself in a bag with his wife. I mean, there's some crazy stuff. I mean, I guess that stuff did help sell, but it didn't really make him look really cool to a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't trying to follow any trends, is what I'm trying to say. Like, he was basically setting trends. And I mean, like, to me, it's lots of different guitar players that I'm influenced by. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, David Gilmour is one of my favorite guitar players in the world. I mean, the list of inspirations, it's a long one. It's a long one. But my little brother Owen, OC they call him, he's a rapper, and he's actually amazing. Like, I was blown away when I first realized what a good rapper he was. There's a million people out there want to be rappers, you know what I'm saying? And to find someone who actually has something to say and can say it well is very rare. His partner in crime was a kid named Ace. Like, that was their act, Ace and OC, and to this day I still think they're one of the best acts I've ever seen, like in Charleston or anywhere. Like, I wish they would have kept it together and would have pushed forward, because they truly had an amazing dynamic and so much energy. Like, it was I have to admit, he's my younger brother, but to this day I'm jealous of his stage energy. Like, I wish I had that kind of, like, he just has a presence about him when he's on stage, and he's real good. It's crazy that my brother, you think of influences or whatever, the Beatles or whatever, what I'm saying, Tupac, or, people like that who inspired me. My own brother was actually a huge inspiration to me. My influences have changed. So the music I recorded in the 90s, my first album, the Kevin West debut album, whatever, was, at the time it was very much singer-songwriter inspired. And then, of course, my life in times was very hip-hop inspired. When I got into hip-hop, I kind of got in with both feet, and I was like, I'm going to write me some stuff like this. I'm going to make me a hip-hop album.
I'm rolling, I roll the windows down, I turn the music up. I'm riding dirty cars down, trying to spread it around. Everybody's getting high, that's how I get down. I'm a rider, rolling slow, cause I'm holding on again. Everybody I know's done. Laughing at the world through a small, dumb haze. Try to leave a smile on everybody's face. From place to place, from door to door. The trick is always leaving wanting some more. And more with the funk, they gotta have it. They can do the bar, it's $100 habit. They get theirs and I get mine. I get paid and they get high. I couldn't ask for more. What do you think I'm rolling for? I'm rolling, taking a slow ride in the neighborhood. Everybody.
The project I'm working on right now is, I would say, kind of inspired by it all, like this, and but it's very live music. Like, the band came in and recorded stuff, and it's very live music inspired. I guess like that's the sound kind of go for. would say that all of my music that I've written over the years has in common, even though I go through different influences and sounds and whatnot, is that I write about like my real life, like everything. Like it's very honest. I'm not really good at making stuff up. I guess by being honest to my music, I feel that's what connects people to my music, I guess, because I'm not really the best guitar player in the world. I'm not the best vocalist. I mean, you can hear the way I speak. Obviously, I'm not the best singer in the world, but I feel like my music has an honest quality to it that, those who do connect with it, I think that's what they connect to.
So long since I've seen you with that look in your eyes, like you can see right through to what lies behind my disguise. And it's been so long since you smiled at me with that little grin, mischievous but innocent, little angels even twin. And they sing the time heals everything, but how long does it take? Just how many more one night stands will I have to make? Ever without you wanting things just go wrong in a way that nothing was wrong. I'm off to write the next time, next line of my life and times in my heart. Still think about you sometimes, so long to the best of times, but who knows what's to come? Because this thing is over, doesn't mean my story's done. And they say time heals everything, but how long does it take? Just how many more one night stands will I have to make? My head off without you wanting things just go wrong in a way there's nothing.
Hard to think of myself as a musician, I guess, in a weird way, because when I was young, I mean, if I could go back and change anything, I would have gone back and asked some of the great guitar players I knew when I was young if they could at least give me a little clue as to how to get in the right direction. But I'm very happy to have the life that I have and live where I live. I mean, Charleston's a very amazing place.
Some kind of lights, will the lights go out like the end of the night when the last song's played and the crowd's all gone, and I'm on the road wondering why it's so long. And in the end, will I look back at now and wonder if it could have been different somehow? I've got some regrets, but it's not over yet, not until the end.
With me, when it comes to writing songs, I guess 99 times out of 100, it starts with a guitar riff. Like, I like playing guitar and I'll find a little riff like, oh, there's a song in there somewhere. And sometimes these riffs will sit around for years. Sometimes just the sound of the song, it just feels like, as soon as you hear the riff, you're like, oh, that's gotta be a song about whatever. Like the song that's gonna be on my newest album, the song called One Too Many. It wasn't even like, I didn't even start writing it until we were already recording. Like it wasn't, I had a different song, like we had a specific number of songs we were gonna record. So I had 11 songs picked out, but then I started writing this song. So luckily, the day I came in to record acoustic tracks, I just recorded the music to this song, the words written yet. And the riff had been around for probably 2 years. And I always knew it had to be a song about drinking too much, because I do drink a little too much every now and then.
I don't know what time it was when I got to bed. I don't know who this girl is that I'm lying here with. The last thing I remember came along.
It came time for me I'd come in here and do vocals the next day, and I still not written 2.5 verses, and I still hadn't even finished the chorus. And I'm like, it's got to be done tomorrow morning. Right? And at night I just just did it though. I knocked it out and it came out good. I mean, it's weird. It's very rare I put that kind of pressure on myself to write. It's a fine line between pushing it, because you don't want to just write words that are just going to fill space. Like, it's nothing more silly than that. I mean, it's funny. I don't mean to make fun of other musicians or whatever, but Jack Johnson put out this song this year, and the sole concept of the song was, be yourself, talk, like say what you want to say. And the hook of the song was nah 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 nah. But like nah 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 is not what you're trying to say. Like, why don't you say what you're trying to say? Like, the song is like a contradiction. I tried to write nah 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 nahs in the song, even though the Beatles proved it, and those guys were writing about chicken wings proved it a few years back. If you put a nah 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 in a song, it's pretty much guaranteed to be a hit. But I've not gotten to where I'm still trying to use words and stuff instead of nah nah nahs and stuff.
Happiness portrayed by the lonely. Sometimes it is even signs. Who is happy and who is lonely? It's just alright. Sometimes it's hard with your thoughts far away. Think of where you are. Sooner or later, it all ends the same. Why let you go this far?
Whole different ball of wax. Like My Life in Times, my favorite song on that album, well, my favorite song, but I would say the song I probably had it was most radio friendly was Excuse Me Beautiful. And that was recorded horribly. Like, to this day, I'm embarrassed that I produced that. Like, I can't believe I let that go like that. So that's why I'm redoing that song on my new album, because it came out so horribly, because I just used a horrible drum sound and I just produced it poorly. Like, saying, there's a difference between an artist and a producer. I saw an interview with Quincy Jones recently, and he's like, with Stephen Colbert, and Colbert was like, well, what does a producer do? He's like, well, if the song's too slow or too fast, if the backup singers sound wrong, if the band is not right, if you're in the wrong studio with the wrong engineer, that's the producer's fault. If everything sounds great, that's the artist's fault. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's basically what the producer does, is all those, to make sure that you have the right people doing the right things. You can't just record, even if you have the greatest songs ever, you still have to record them properly. You know what I'm saying? Like, some can be recorded just with the artist and the acoustic guitar and be recorded properly and be great, but not everything can be that way. And a lot of times you don't want to do it that way, because you don't want to be boring. So you want it to be, but then there's the key. You don't want to overproduce. You don't want to use too much. You don't want to make it too. So it's a fine line between writing and creating. But also, what I was saying earlier about the song One Too Many, it's an awesome, like, the most awesome feeling in the world, though, is to, like, today there's nothing. But then between now and tomorrow, I'm going to write something, and then tomorrow it's going to be recorded, and it's going to be there forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's so fresh. Like, that's the one song you will listen to over and over and over again, because you've been playing those other songs for a long time, but that new one it's nice.
Dear mama, I'm sorry things happen like this. I know you wanted more for your own. This kid should have been a good example for my little brother. Oh, how we turned out right, I'll never know.
It was a song on My Life in Times, Dear Mama, was something I came up with the concept of, like, when the Iraq War was kind of first breaking out and stuff, and I was driving down the road one day, and I was just thinking about, how there's probably a lot of single moms in the world, in the country right now, have one son who's in prison for selling drugs, and the other son who's in Iraq because he didn't want to sell drugs. And but, like, I wasn't really sure I wanted to end it. I remember I was driving across the James Island Connector, like, when I realized that the son in Iraq had to die for the story for it to have impact. I remember I kind of got choked up for a second, like, 'cause I didn't want him to die, you know what I'm saying? But, like, then I went, like, wrote the music, tried to come up with music to fit that concept. It was one of the few songs I've written where I came up with, like, a lyrical concept first before I had music. And I remember, like, I had the song even written, and I wasn't sure what kind of drum beat I wanted. And then I heard this song from Eminem. I can't remember what it was called, Toy Soldiers from Eminem. It had this military style, and I'm like, that's what I need, a military style snare march, you know what I mean? And, like, not afraid to admit here on camera that I ripped that idea off, but I mean, I ripped off, we all rip off each other, all artists, musicians. I mean, the old thing is, you know, amateurs borrow, professionals steal, but that was what made that song. Once I put that drum beat behind it, that song just came to life.
Still fighting this war, even though they said we won. Only signed them so I could get an education. Now I'm halfway around the world with no explanation of how long I'll be here and what I'm here for.
Really acknowledgement on a national level was the American Songwriter magazine. It was like a lyric contest. And in 2006, I won first place in that lyric contest with the lyrics to my song, Dear Mom. I won a Martin DX1 acoustic guitar, which was pretty nice. And I was just blown away. I just couldn't believe it. Like really? I've never won it. Like, it's hard. I mean, like, it seems like when I send my music out to the industry, they don't really get it. You know, like, it seems like people get it, but the industry's always like not willing to take it for what it is, because they want to try and compare it to something else. Whereas that was the first time it was cool. Like Jules on the cover of the magazine, and you know, that was probably one of my highlights. But hopefully I'll surpass that one someday.
I just wanted to say I miss you.
When making an album, at least from the albums I've made, it seems like each album tends to have a life of its own, because everything up to this, my most recent recording, I've recorded with most of it with the same engineer, a guy named John Uhrig. Using, for example, my new project and my last project. Like my last project, My Life and Times, was a very hip hop inspired project, and I only used live drums on 2 tracks, and like I played all the instruments myself. So like that album, each song was like a project in itself. Would, you know, create the drum track with this guy named Ray Mass, a hip hop producer I knew. So each song we would create the drum track. Now we'd come in here to the same studio. Like this studio here is called Collective Recording. Back then it was called the Treatment Center. There's a little room back here, one of the other recording rooms, where me and John Uhrig spent, you know, 6 months, probably, you know, 5 days a week, 4 to 8 hours a day in that little room, like just creating stuff. Because once we get the drums program, we'd upload the drums into the computer. You know, I would record the bass line, then I would record rhythm guitars, and I would do vocals and harmonies, and we did a lot of really hip-hop inspired fun overdubs and using different samples and sound bites and sound effects and different things like that to make that album. And you know, that one I probably had a couple hundred hours in recording that thing, it seemed like. I mean, maybe not, but it was a lot of time. Like, you know, like I said, each song in itself was a project. Where this project I'm working right now, we probably don't have that many hours. I mean, 20, 30 hours, something like this in recording. This time I came in, just wanted to do everything live this time. Right? Like last album was very studio polished, and you know, I was fully aware of like every single breath that was on that album, like every squeak of the guitar strings, where this one is more, I'm still aware of every little breath on it, but there's not so many breaths, so that's all I'm saying. Like it's definitely much more narrowed down to the basics. Like the band came in, we tracked it. In the first song we tracked, these guys nailed it with a click on the first take. Like I don't think in the history of recording ever anything has everything ever been knocked out on the first take, and these guys killed it on the first take, and it was, so that was a joy. Like this album is coming together a lot faster. It's different though, because the last album I was able to hear each song as it got done. So you wait before the album was done, I had finished songs. Like this album, I haven't heard one finished song yet. Like we've been at it so I'm hoping actually tonight to get a rough copy.
This song's called The Story of My Life.
If I sang you a song, would you let it be? If I told a little story about being me? If nobody hears me, am I really there? If nobody listens, does no one care?
Yeah, this new album, it's called Once in a Lifetime, and I guess at this point I have my whole life pretty much invested in this thing. Like my friends are even like have, you know, invested in this, like not money, but you know, time. Like people have put me at, my friends have helped me in enormous ways. Like I'm so blessed to have the friends I have. Like they're very, very supportive in this whole thing. Like, I never could have got it done without them.
Tomorrow's another show, another night. The words may be different, the melodies may change, but the stories I'll be telling will still be the same.
Carl and Jesse Anderson are two just amazing musicians, brothers. You know, Carl's a drummer and Jesse plays bass, and they came in. We tracked the 5 full band songs in 2 sessions. The only other people I had come in and play was the song One Too Many I was talking about earlier. I had my good friend Kenny Meyer, who was one of the first musicians I ever met in Charleston. I was still in the Navy. Like that first ever gig at the Chef and Clef I was talking about earlier, I met Kenny Meyer at the time, and he was, we've been good friends ever since. I mean, it's funny that you think that Jimi Hendrix or, you know, Eric Clapton or David Gilmour, these people were like being a big influence, but you probably hear me steal more guitar riffs from my friend Kenny Meyer than anybody. Like I feel I'm almost embarrassed sometimes to play in front of him that I'm playing so much of his stuff. But he's just that good of a guitar player, that good of a guy. So I had him come in and play some slide on one song. I had 2 other tracks where I needed a female vocal. So I had my good friend Brittany Linder come in and sing the songs. My friend Barbara Saxton, she sang on the first album. She lives in Traverse City, Michigan now. She actually wrote the lyrics for the new song, and her and I kind of collaborated on the lyrics for the new song. And we redid Excuse Me Beautiful, which Barbara had written the lyrics for that, for the female verse. So Brittany came in one day and knocked out, sang those 2 verses.
You need to slow down. If you know how to treat a lady, you know how to get down. I'm not the kind of girl that'll love you for the rest of your life. But if you're lucky out here with the best of you ever had at one time.
Alan's dad, Kenny Alan Price, is a trumpet player. And we had him come in and play a song tonight. It was a song called The Story of My Life, and it's what I think Frank Sinatra would call a saloon song. I have an old live recording of Frank Sinatra playing a song called One More for the Road, and he describes it like his opening intro as it being like a saloon song, like the bar's getting ready to close, there's nobody left in the place but you and the bartender, and you're trying to get the bartender to give you one more drink or just tell him your story before you leave and whatnot. And so it's kind of this sad, lonely kind of jazz sort of inspired song, and so we had Kenny come in and play some trumpet, like real sad, kind of melodic, muffled trumpet thing that was pretty great. He did a really amazing job. It was that was just amazing because when I first came to that guitar riff years ago, that's one of those songs where the guitar riff had been around forever before I actually wrote the lyrics. But when I first wrote the guitar riff, I right away heard like trumpet playing along with like just like that riff and trumpet by itself. And tonight to hear Come to Life is just definitely an amazing feeling.
If I sang you a song, would you let it be? If I told a little story about being me, if nobody hears me, am I really there? If nobody listens, does no one care? The words don't make sense.
That was money.
Right on.
Well, yeah, the new album is finally done. Mixed, mastered. Will be all the artwork is done, the graphics laid out. Should be sending off to press within the next week or so, I hope. And my brother passed away about 2 weeks into making this album. We were just getting closer than ever over the past year or two, and it was very difficult. And so I even basically couldn't get back in the studio for a couple weeks. For the first day back, I just felt like he was in there with me, and I just, you know, we got a little bit of a sound bite of his voicemail or whatever, and we recorded, just to put it on the album. I just felt like he was there with me, and he just really wanted this album to be great, so he could, you know, if he was here, be proud, I think. It's odd to see where I'm at now, because my older brother Brian was the one who probably literally did put a guitar in my hand and teach me the first riff I ever learned. And you know, even my first word as a baby was Brian. That's what they tell me. Somebody says in my baby book. And then, you know, recently I thought about it, and during the making of my last album, My Life in Times, when I was in the middle of making it, I lost 2 different friends of mine that were both musicians. A guy named Hawk Morphy, who was a multi-instrumentalist, he called himself, and a guy named Robert Failer was a saxophone player, and they were both a little older than me and much more experienced musicians when I first started playing. And you know, they got me gigs and, you know, encouraged me to stick with it and that I could do this for a living. And, you know, it's very strange and difficult dealing with things so painful at the same time trying to put out something that's so exciting, I guess. It can be hard to balance that, I guess. But I mean, as far as my music goes, it seems like the people I've known personally have influenced me more than any rock star ever could. And these are the people I've met the most in my life, and I think are why I make the music I make today and why it sounds the way it sounds. It's like playing out live, especially with the band. I mean, it's like doing drugs. And people say that like you take ecstasy or something like that, you know, like the next day you're depressed because you felt so amazing. You know, so when you come like real life, just isn't that good. And like, playing music sometimes it's like that. Like, you know, I get done playing and then like everybody's gone and like I'll just be alone driving home, whatever. And it's just like it's like crazy. It's like the most loneliest feeling in the world because you just go from like rocking out and people just love you and all of a sudden you're just by yourself and you know you're down at the gas station, guys doesn't give a shit about you, whatever. Like it's a very dynamic way of life, I guess. You know, the highs and the lows, I guess. Where you know it's funny as an artist, you think you complain about the lows, whatever, but the lows are still not what my biggest lows. I may have a problem paying bills sometimes or something like that, or you know the car breaks down, or like you know normal problems anybody else has, but it's never like that bad. So like, you know, personally, I feel bad about if I'm ever like depressed or I'm in a bad mood or something. I feel guilty about it or something. Like I should. I'm blessed. I have such a good life. I mean, I may not have everything, but I got a lot. You know what I mean? I shouldn't complain or like you know feel like I'm you know I got way more than I ever dreamed of. You know, and sometimes I feel guilty about wanting more. I guess. Like, if I had to name any place that, you know, if I was to go out and travel the world and play music that I would always miss when I come back and play, it'd be Folly Beach in general. Like any of the venues out there, Snappers and, you know, Loggerheads and Ties, all different places. Whatever. Just because I've lived here for so long, I know just the community of Folly Beach. Cause you know, it's unlike any community I've ever seen. You know, people are just good people. It's a very much kind of a family. So I want to say a family environment, but I don't mean family like you want to bring your kids. You definitely want to bring your kids. But I mean like people like if you know if you're from Folly or even if you live there, people you know they're open to because everybody on Folly is a newcomer. Every couple of years, people come and go through Folly. You know, so like, but there's a certain I don't know, it's a certain character or person or something, a certain quality of people that like to be out there. So for some reason, everybody just gets along and everybody always looks out. There's this kind of old school hippie mentality out there or something like that. Where people they love good music. When I play my music on Folly Beach, I can play a gig and play 80% original songs, you know, where the few cover songs I'll do is be some obscure stuff that I'm doing for my own, and people will like it, you know, they not only tolerate it, they enjoy it, they want to hear more original stuff. Folly Beach in general is my favorite place in the whole wide world. The fact that I'm very happy to have the life that I have and live where I live. I mean, Charleston's a very amazing place, and people are, you know, I've got great friends and family and stuff here, and you know, I still foolishly have pipe dreams or whatever, but I guess who doesn't, you know? But if nothing comes of it, you know, if this is it, I'm good. You know, like I've come a long way from being a crackhead on the streets in Jersey, you know, locked up in Union County Jail to being here, living the dream pretty much. Like I live in Charleston, I've just, you know, just amazing people, amazing scene. I can do what I love for a living.
Something of a sign.
I guess this album it's not quite as, it may not resonate with people as much as my last album because it's not really as sad, I guess. I don't really, you know, There's a couple sad songs about girls and whatnot like that. I mean, it's not all happy, and you know, it's still very real life. But like my darkest stories, I told on my last album, and like I said, I tend to write from honestly, you know, from real life, so I can't just make up new and darker stories or whatnot, you know. But you know, I guess, you know, My Life in Times was me basically describing my life growing up and what I've been up to that point, and now this album is basically my life from that point till now, you know. So it's different, you know. It's not as sad, but it's still, you know, real life. And I think that, if anything, I think I'd like people to get from it that, you know, whatever you're going through in life, there's still always going to be another chapter, like another thing. You know, like when I finished recording My Life in Times, I didn't think there's ever going to be another album. I'm like, what else am I going to write? That's it. That's my story. I told it. Like, what else am I going to write about now? And so, you know, but then here I am just, you know, finishing this new album. And honestly, right now, I feel like I could start recording another one tomorrow. Like, I've got songs already. I'm like, and, you know, I guess my message is to, you know, just there's always something next. You know, I'm still pushing. So I haven't given up yet.
Some true love shit. I was born to die, so don't cry for me. When my time comes, it was meant to be. I'm cheating death more than once. I'm living on borrowed time. The reaper and the devil want this soul of mine. I drank gasoline when I was 2. They all thought for sure that I was true, but I woke up the next morning smiling wide. The gas didn't do shit but get me high. Long after that, things only got worse. Don't know why, I guess I'm just cursed. An accident took away all I had. Left me alone in the world that's mad. In the neighborhood, little freckle-faced kid getting his ass kicked cause his hair is red. And it's bad at home on top of it. The old man's got a bottle that needed it. So I learned how to fight at an early age. And hard hit first, hitting with rage. And the next has to be totally corrupt. He's just start doing drugs and getting fucked up. Well, that's what I did by the age of 12. I'd already lived through a living hell. I wake up every morning, I'm surprised to be alive. How did I survive when it seems I was born to die? So don't cry for me. When my time comes, it was meant to be. I'm cheating death more than once. I'm living on borrowed time. The reaper and the devil want this soul of mine. Oh, I knew it, I was too and too cool for school. The only role models I had were fools. The lessons I learned, I would never the street. The way to get the good shit and not get beat. Got nowhere to go, you might as well get high. At least you go somewhere in your mind. Be funked and dusty, the new bombers eat. Smoking up, yeah, yo, like it was free. And what I had to ease the pain. The people I knew, lives lost in vain. From the drugs and violence and DUIs. Even though a cat did suicide. Woke up one morning in a hospital bed. The doctor says, so you're lucky you're not dead. A motorcycle wreck, you ride your bike, you run a tree. The man said you must have been doing 90. You know it's not too late for you to save yourself. Make an escape from this living hell. I looked up and nodded my head and smiled, knowing all the while I was born to die, so don't cry for me. When my time comes, it was meant to be. I'm cheating death more than once. I'm living on borrowed time. The reaper and the devil want this soul of mine.
grown man's world is hard growing up when your future's unsure. If the good die young, I must be bad, cause I'm still here despite the life I've had. I know I sound bad, but maybe I'm not cursed. Maybe I've been, but I guess it could have been worse. See, mama never left me when she died. She waited to protect me from the other side. The way I'm okay, I've done all I can. Learning the hard way to be a man. At least I've been smart enough to not get caught. Smart enough to stay high and not give up. I know I made my shit of mistakes, but I've always made room whatever it takes. I realize one thing and nothing at all, is that we were wrong. Born to die, so don't cry on me. When my time comes, it was meant to be. I'm cheating dead more than once. I'm living on borrowed time. The reaper and the devil wanted his soul mine. One of the best reasons for living is having a reason to live. Think about that shit for a moment.
Yeah.